Hi, warriors. Okay, guys, so we are going to finish off our Oklahoma themed unit with something really cool. It's called the Eastern Collared Lizard. And so this is the Eastern Collared Lizard. As you can see, he's got really bright colors like a yellow head, yellow stripes, bright blue body. And of course, he's called a collared lizard for a reason. It looks like he's wearing these thick black, almost necklaces or collars on his neck. And the reason I'm saying his, you guys, is because these are the boys. The boys are brighter colored than the girls. So the boys that you see in real life, they are the ones with the bright yellow and the blue. The girls are a little bit more boring. They're like brown or gray. So I just thought, I was going to draw a boy to show you these cool colors. But of course, if you want to make yours a girl, you would just do it brown and gray. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and get started with our Eastern Collared Lizard, Oklahoma's state reptile. I have never seen one of these out and about. They're kind of seclusive. They don't come out a whole lot. You might not have seen one, especially if you live in the city. And so, but they are definitely found all over Oklahoma. And like I said, they're kind of out though, and more in the country areas, especially in the eastern part of Oklahoma. So we are gonna go ahead and get started though with this very cool way to finish up our Oklahoma unit. I want your paper sideways today, guys. It's much easier to fit your lizard if your paper's sideways instead of up and down tall. So go ahead and make sure your paper's sideways. We are gonna start, as always, on our animal with our eye. So I'm not gonna start in the middle. I'm gonna scooch it over a little bit so I have room for his nice long tail and longish body. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a curve line for the top of my eye. Not too big, of course. You guys are pros by now. Then we're gonna make a curve line for the bottom. And then, as always, we're gonna fill it in, leave a little space of white showing just to show that he's alive. Now they have these kind of ridges of scales around their eyes. So above his eye and below his eye, I'm just gonna double. I'm gonna go ahead and draw a line above his eye and below his eye. And then we're gonna make his nostril. They, of course, don't have noses like we do. They just have, the little nostrils stuck inside their head. So I'm gonna look at the eye and I'm gonna go over just a little ways. It's not a crocodile. He's not gonna go, the nostril's not way far away. Just over a little ways, and I'm gonna make a little thick, sort of a thick curve line for the nostril. Right in front of the nostril, very, very close, but not touching. I'm gonna make this curve line for the end of his snout, for the end of his face. So very close, just a little bit above the nostril. I'm just gonna make it curve down a little bit below the nostril. That's all you need to do. Now I'm gonna make a slanted line that sort of slants over and it bumps up for the top of his head. So watch. I'm gonna start here and I'm just gonna kind of slant it over, and then there's gonna be just a little bit of a bump across from that eye, and then I'm gonna stop. You don't really see his mouth the way that this guy's head is turned. You don't really see so much of his mouth. You just see the bottom of his face on down to his neck. So I'm gonna go ahead and slant it. Wherever we stopped that curve line in the front, I'm gonna slant it down below the eye, and it's just gonna curve back. So I'm gonna kind of bring it in and slant it below the eye, and it starts to curve back and then stop. That's all you need to do. Now, to finish off his head, you see just another little bump right here for the back part of his head, and then there's more of a straight line for his neck. So we're gonna start with this little bit of a bump. Now, it's not a huge curve. It's just a barely there bump, not at the very end of this line, but up just a little ways. I'm gonna make another bump that kind of curves back, then I'm gonna stop. Then I'm gonna make his neck. And it's, like I said, it's a little bit more of a straight line. And he doesn't have a huge long neck, so you don't wanna make this line really, really long, like a flamingo. Just kind of a short straight line. Again, not at the end of this line, but over just a little ways. A slanted straight line for his neck, and then we're gonna stop. Now, we are gonna do all the very, very cool detail of the scales and stripes and everything in just a minute. What we're gonna do is draw the whole outline of the body, and then we'll come in and start to add all of our details. So, at the bottom of his neck, we're gonna go ahead and show where his leg starts, his front leg. And notice how it's kind of skinnier. It is shaped differently than the back leg, so you're gonna wanna follow me. We are gonna start right here at the top, and I'm just gonna make a curve line for the top part of his arm. This is like where my down from my top part of my arm to my elbow, we're drawing like this part of his leg, and then there's a bend for the bottom part. So we're gonna draw this top part of his arm. We're gonna start right here, and I'm just gonna make a slanted line that slants back a little ways. And then we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna make it on the other side. Just gonna double it and stop. And then it's gonna slant forward. So, not at the end of this line, but over just a tiny ways, I'm gonna make another line that kind of slants forward and down. And then for his elbow, we're just gonna swing this around and bring it forward. So we're just gonna follow what we already have, swing it around, bring it forward. Now look guys, I'm gonna make it just a little skinnier at his wrist. See how my arm is wider and then it gets skinnier at the wrist? Same with him, it's wider and it gets skinnier at the wrist, okay? So we've got it skinnier at the wrist, and now he's got like very long toes. They're kind of long and skinny. His back toes that you're gonna see in just a minute, they are super weird looking, but his front toes too are long and skinny. So we're gonna start now. He's got 5 technically. Nobody's gonna count your toes. If you only have room for 3 or 4 or 2 toes, that is fine. Nobody's gonna care. I'm gonna see how many I can fit. Even on my example, I only had room for 4. If you only have room for 3 or 2 or 1, whatever. No big deal. We're gonna go ahead and start with his toes. On the top line, I'm gonna make a skinny toe that comes forward. And then look, it's gonna come skinny back. Don't touch. I'm not gonna touch anything. Then I'm gonna make another toe forward. And look guys, they're kind of bumpy. They're definitely not perfect. He's a lizard. They're scaly, bumpy, not perfectly smooth or anything. Look, I'm gonna come skinny back. Don't touch. Let's see, I think I only have room right now for 1 more toe here. So I'm gonna make it come down, skinny back up, and this time I'm gonna touch. So I only had room for 3. You might only have room for 3 too. It's just gonna look like the other 2 are hidden. No big deal. Or if you wanna show another one, kind of sticking out, you know, just a little smaller, you can definitely do that. It's up to you guys, make it how you want. Now, we're gonna go ahead and show his belly. I'm gonna make a curve line back for his belly. It's not super long belly, okay? It's not a long body, he's not a snake. This is a lizard, so it's a shorter line than you would make for like a snake. But kind of close to his elbow, where that bend is, I'm gonna just make a slanted line back for his belly. So kind of looking towards his elbow, maybe up just a little ways, I'm gonna make a slanted line back for his belly. Then we're gonna make his back leg. And notice how it's bent a different way, and then he's got these really long, kind of weird looking toes. So it's gonna look a little funny at first. It's supposed to. It's kind of a funny looking back leg for this lizard. So we're gonna go ahead and get that started. Not at the end of this line, but up just a little ways. I'm gonna make almost like a smushed C that kind of comes back. This line right here is sort of a smushed C. So I'm gonna look at this line and come up and over, and I'm gonna start with that smushed C that sort of cuts across there and comes back. Then I'm gonna make another sort of a weird looking C. I'm gonna start in the middle, right in the middle of this, right in the middle. This time I'm gonna make another C that kind of curves just up. So it's not so much a C, it just kind of curves up like this, kind of a backwards looking funny shaped C. Now I know this looks weird, don't worry about it, because then we are gonna go ahead, starting at the end of this line, I'm gonna come over just a little ways for his foot. Now look how silly this foot looks. His toes are super long and they kind of slant down. So we are gonna go ahead and make this weird looking foot. Not at the end of this line, but over just a little ways. I'm gonna make a slanted line. It's gonna come back, and then it's gonna slant forward just a little ways. That is starting his first toe. So it's right here. Then very skinny next to it, I'm gonna make another one. It's gonna curve down for his second toe. See how they touch? This time we're gonna make a little different. Watch, instead of making yet another one, I'm gonna bring this back again. Very skinny. Don't touch. See how I'm not touching anything. And then another one. Another toe. I can make it even longer. Very skinny back. And then we've got 3 so far. If you want to make a 4th, you could. If you want to just leave 3, that's fine. However many you want. Then we're going to follow this foot. So watch, I'm going to make this curve line right here. This is showing the back of his foot. So I'm going to make a little curve line just a little bit back. And then it's going to start to slant towards his body. And then you want to just end up touching this weird looking wide C right here. We're just going to sort of slant it up and touch. I told you guys it's a weird looking foot, but it's kind of cool, kind of different, right? You don't see something like that very often, so pretty cool. Now, we are going to go ahead and show his back. So we're going to make a curve line. Remember this straight line that we stopped for his neck? There's just a little bit of a curve to his back, and we're going to stop it. We're not going to touch this line. We're going to stop it just barely above this line, not touching. So watch. If you want to even take your finger and sort of trace how you want his back to be. He's not a camel. He doesn't have a big old bump on his back. Just barely a curve, and it's going to stop right above this leg. So I'm going to start here and just barely curve it, and stop. See how it's not touching yet? Because we're leaving that open so it can touch his tail. They've got these nice, long, skinny tails. I thought this was a cool picture where it shows the tail spiraled. I thought that was kind of cool. You could make your tail spiral like that. You could make it just kind of curve straight off. Look, if you were running out of room and you don't have room for a tail, this is a photograph of an eastern collared lizard. You don't see the tail at all. That's fine if you just want to draw it right off the paper and you don't see it. That's cool, no big deal. So we are just going to start wherever you left off right here. We're going to start with the tail. And again, it's pretty long and skinny. So if you have room for a tail, make sure it gets pretty skinny. So I'm going to start, let's see, I think I'm going to make mine a spiral. I kind of have room down here. So I'm just going to sort of make mine really curved on the end like that. And then a little bit wherever his leg is touching this sort of weird shape right here, I'm going to go ahead and double it. What I've got, and look, it's going to start to get very skinny, skinnier and skinnier as I go around for my tail, and I'm just going to let it touch, just let it sort of disappear. Now you can barely see his other leg sticking out across. So across from this leg right here, I'm just going to sort of look and jump over, and I'm just going to barely see a little curved line going across. Now for the fun part. Now we can add really cool designs and details. We've got sort of just the outline of his body. Now I want you to look at these awesome designs. Let me see, let me get this a little closer. This is a photograph of the eastern collared lizard. Notice how, of course, what he's definitely needing is this collar, these sort of black lines going across his neck. And then check that out. He's got these spots and stripes. He's got spots and stripes all over his body. So really take a look at that, and later on you can even pause this to look even closer when you're adding all the detail. But we're gonna go ahead and I'll walk you through some ideas for details on him. First, of course, we've gotta have that collar, right? Or else he's not a collared lizard. So going across his neck, like starting about, where his shoulder is, it is definitely bumpy. It's not perfect, but there's a line that goes across, and then we're just going to double it. And look, it is certainly not perfect. Very bumpy, very jagged, a little thicker in some places, thinner in other places. He's got at least 2 of these stripes going across. On this one, I had room for 3, so I had 3. On this one, I think I'll just have 2. I'll just leave it like that. And then later, I won't take the time now, but later, this is what you would color nice and solid black if you want it to look like a realistic eastern collared lizard. Those are always black, but if you want to abstract and want to make it orange and purple, that's fine. It's up to you. So that's our first detail. Another detail, you can sometimes see they have this little pouch on their neck that can kind of get bigger, and it's very kind of thinner And sometimes you can see it and sometimes you can't. If you want to add a little curve line along his neck like that, or even a dotted line to make it look like it's like you really can barely see it, that's another detail you can add. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. And then I want you to think about adding some stripes on his back. This is a great picture. I printed this one off because you can really see those yellow stripes going along his back. So you could definitely come on here and I can make these, and they're a little bit thinner than the collar, as you can see. So I can make these sort of thin stripes. I can make them bumpy or rough or smooth. I could even, if you want to make them broken a little bit, I can make them broken to show they're certainly not perfect. So I could do that. I could add stripes along his tail. Sometimes they have these stripes going along their tail all around. And then of course, look, he's got sort of white spots all over his body as part of his scale pattern. So you could come on here, and I am definitely not gonna make just perfectly perfect polka dots like this. They're rough, they're bumpy, they sort of sometimes get clustered and are closer together, or they're more spread apart in other spots. And I can definitely add some of these little white spots all over him as part of the scale pattern. And as always, guys, this could be a point where you wanted to pause the video and really get into that detail and add lots and lots of cool design and detail on here. But this sort of patterning, the stripes and the spots and the stripes along the tail, oh, don't forget his face, this is going to be very realistic for your Eastern collared lizard. Now, some of you have been adding non-realistic details, and you know that's fine by me. If you want to add, you know, patterns like this on your Eastern collared lizard, that's fine. It's just not going to look like a real one. So if you want a realistic one, you're going to take your time and add these fun stripes and spot patterns, okay? So for the background, you definitely want to add some background, because right now he's sort of, it looks sort of like he's flying. He's definitely not flying. So I made mine on a rock just because the way his body's kind of laying. So you could definitely make yours on a rock as well, sort of a rough, bumpy rock. You could just make round if you wanted to. I wanted to add even just a little bit more, so I could make some grass sticking up from behind. You could make the sky, you could make a sunset, you could make whatever you want in the background. But I have seriously loved seeing what you guys are coming up with these backgrounds. Some of you are so creative and have come up with backgrounds I never thought of, so I'm thrilled to see it. Okay, so with the coloring, even if you have a girl lizard and it's gonna be like a plain green or a plain brown or a grayish, that's totally fine. But oldest warriors, you know that Miss Adams, what am I gonna say? I'm gonna say, don't come on here with one solid color. You've done all of this work with drawing. Don't come on here with one solid color then and color right over all that work. You can't see it. It makes it more boring, to be honest, and it just doesn't let those cool patterns and designs stand out. So even if you want a girl and you're gonna do like brown and gray, like they are in real life, you could come on here, and I still wanna see those different patterns really standing out. So I could take one color for the spots, and then I could take the other color to go around those spots. And that way you really see that detail that you've worked so hard on. So 4th and 5th graders, don't come on there with one color. You know that didn't work for Miss Adams. Or if you want the boy Eastern lizard, this is my example. The spots you leave pretty light colored or white even, and then the stripes on his back are yellowish, and his body's sort of this cool like brown, or excuse me, bluish green, this bright bluish green, and of course the black on his neck. So this is my example that I did with crayon, but I am so excited to see what you guys come up with. And of course, texture on the rock. You 4th and 5th graders know to add texture with the rock, texture on his skin, make it not perfect, because that'll make it even more realistic. So guys, don't forget to take a picture of your lizard and upload it, add it to the attachments so that Miss Adams can see it. If you just click turn in without doing anything else, I can't see it. And I gotta see it. I can't wait to see it. So be sure to do that. And friends, also remember my office hours every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I am on Google Meet, on our Google Meet from 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning. And so anytime in there, if you want to just hop on and say hello, or if you want to hop on and say, I had a problem with this, can you walk me through this part of the drawing? I am happy to do so. So that is my time. And I will write down, let's see, you just, on the Google Meet, this is what you would type in, Woe Specials. Okay, so this is from 8:30 to 9:30 if you want to say hi to Miss Adams. And I would love to see you guys. So I am excited to see your artwork, and we will start a new unit next week. I can't wait. I love you all. Bye, Warriors.